Chapter 2.5, Literal Equations and Formulas. Your objective for this lesson is to rewrite and use literal equations and formulas. A literal equation is an equation that involves two or more variables. A formula is a specific type of literal equation that is used to show a relationship between two variables. So example 1, first we're going to talk about how to rewrite a literal equation. So we have a word problem. It says how many sandwiches can you buy if you buy 3 pizzas at $10 each and sandwiches cost $5. You use the equation 10x plus 5y equals 80, where x is the number of pizzas and y is the number of sandwiches, and you only have a total of $80 to spend. So really I just need my equation 10x plus 5y equals 80. And I'm trying to figure out how many sandwiches I can buy. So y is my sandwiches. I am going to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 10x because I'm trying to get y by itself. I know there's two variables, but don't let that confuse you. You're still just trying to get y by itself. So we're going to get 5y equals, and we'll say negative 10x plus 80. And then divide both sides by 5. That gives you y on the left, and on the right it gives you, if you distribute the 5, negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2x. And then 80 divided by 5 is 16. And that gives me my formula for the number of sandwiches I can buy. So since I bought 3 pizzas at $10 each, I'm going to plug 3 in for the x, because x represents the pizzas. And I'm going to simplify and see how many sandwiches I can buy. So I get y equals negative 6x. Just kidding. Negative 6 plus 16. So y equals 10, and it looks like I can buy 10 sandwiches if I buy 3 pizzas. Moving on to guided practice number 1, solve the equation 4 equals 2m minus 5n. For n, that's actually supposed to say 4m. What are the values of m when n is negative 2, 0, and 2? So to solve for m, we're going to have to get the m by itself. So we're going to add 5n to both sides because we want to move it to the other side. And we get 5n plus 4 equals 2m. Then divide both sides by 2. And you can either leave it like 5n plus 4 over 2, or you can rewrite 5/2 n plus 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Both of them are the right answer. And then I need you to take what n equals here, negative 2, 0, and 2, and plug each number in and give me 3 numbers that you get out. Pause the video and do that, and I'll give you the answer in just a second. Okay, if you were to correctly plug in negative 2, you would get negative 3. If you were to correctly plug in 0, you would get 2. And if you were to correctly plug in 2, you would get 7. Example 2. Rewriting a literal equation with only variables. A lot of students freak out when they see an equation with no numbers in it. They're like, oh, but Miss Richards, there's no numbers. Yes, that's algebra. You have to know your rules for solving equations. And if you know that, you should be fine. Here's my equation. They want me to solve for x. So what I notice here is that I have x in 2 different spots, and it's multiplied by both of those terms. So what I'm actually going to do is, like, x has been distributed across the a minus b. So I'm actually going to undo that and pull the x back out front equals c. Now to get x by itself, I just divide by what we're multiplying it by. So we're going to divide it by a minus b. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And I get x equals c over A minus B. Guided practice number 2. What equation do you get when you solve negative t equals r plus px for x? So we got to get that x by itself. Identify where your variable is, and I move everything that's with it. So I'm going to subtract the r, and I get negative t minus r equals px, and then divide by p, and I get negative t minus r over p equals x. A blank is an equation that states a relationship among quantities. I told you that at the beginning of the video. That's a formula, and that's just a special type of literal equation. You use formulas a lot when you're finding in geometry and when you're doing science. And I have a table here to help you when they ask you for different formulas. I put that table there so you could look back as a reference. Okay, example 3, rewriting a geometric formula. What is the radius of a circle with a circumference of 64 feet? It's round to the nearest tenth. Look for the circumference of a circle. The formula for the circumference of a circle. And that's going to be C equals 2 pi r. It's possible you could go ahead and plug in 64 and solve for r then. So we'll go method 1, where you just plug in 64 for C and then solve for r. But if you had to do that with a bunch of circles, this wouldn't be the best way. So we're going to divide it by 2 pi. And we get r is approximately equal to 64 divided by 2 pi is 10.2, approximately 10.2. Then we have this other method where we solve for r first. So we got C equals 2 pi r. What if we solve for r first and we did over 2 pi? So my formula for my radius is going to be r equals C over 2 pi. Then we know its C is 64, so we're going to plug in 64 for C. And that still gives me 10.2. So either way, you should get the right answer. And knowing 2 ways to do it is a good way to check yourself. Guided practice number 3. What is the height of a triangle that has an area of 24 inches squared with a base with a length of 8 inches? So the area of a triangle formula is 1/2 base times height. I'm going to go ahead and solve this one for what they're asking. They want to know the height, so you're finding h. So we're going to divide by 1/2 b. And that if you divide by 1/2, that's the same as multiplying by 2, and then we got a over b, and that's your height. Now if they tell you that a is 24 and that b is 8, plug it in and find your answer. Pause the video, plug in your numbers, find your answer, and I'll give you the answer in just a second. Okay, so that's going to be 2 times 24 over 8, which is 2 times 3, which is 6. So my answer is 6 inches. You could have also gone ahead and plugged in A and B here and then solved for H after you got your numbers. Example 4. A monarch butterfly is the only butterfly that migrates annually north and south. The distance that a particular group of monarch butterflies travels is shown. It takes a typical butterfly about 120 days to travel one way. What is the average rate at which a butterfly travels in miles per day? So we're talking about rate, distance, and time. So my formula is going to be the distance formula, which is D equals RT. Now I know that it takes 120 days. And then they tell me that the distance is going to be Oh, it's in the textbook. They showed you 1,700 miles. Sorry. Should have put that on your paper. So it's going to be 1,700 equals 120R. So solve for R. And you get 14 approximately is how many miles per day they travel. Guided practice number 4, Pacific gray whales migrate annually from the waters near Alaska to the waters near Baja California, Mexico, and back. The whales travel a distance of 5,000 miles each way at an average rate of 91 miles per day. About how many days does it take the whales to migrate? So we're still going to use distance equals rate times time. Pause the video, plug that stuff in, solve for days, so solve for T, and then I'll give you the answer in just a second. Alright, so you're going to put 5,000 where D is, and it says 91 miles per day, so you're going to say 91 T, solve for T, so you divide by 91, and 5,000 divided by 91 is approximately 55 days. Okay, pause the video here, show me what you've learned. If you don't know how to do these, you definitely need to go back and look at examples 1 and 2. Show all of your work, and there's work for all of these, and then bring me your paper at the beginning of class tomorrow for proof you did your homework.